casually dressed and deep in conversation with me, Greg Chalmers. Cddc is sponsored by Pizza Daddy, Lanarkshire's #1 American-style pizza parlour. To stay up to date on new flavours and promotions, then get connected on the socials. The Instagram handle is @RealPizzaDaddy and the website is www.thepizzadaddy.co.uk. To see what we're getting up to here at Casually Dressed, then you can find us on Instagram with the handle @CDDC Podcast, and on Twitter it is @PodcastCDDC. Also, as you're watching this on YouTube, then please hit those like and subscribe buttons. And with me this evening, as always, is my co-host Christopher Shields. How you doing, mate?
Not too bad, pal. How are you?
I'm fabulous, my man, fabulous. Our guest this evening is actor and musician Tom Urie. How are you, sir?
I'm all right. Normally I would say I'm really glad to be out of the house, but I've not been out of the house for the past 2 geological eras. So yeah, we're never getting out again. I'm locked.
I know. It's getting to us all, man. It's getting to us all. Have you been keeping yourself busy through?
Yeah, I've been busy growing a beard that's a different colour from the moustache.
It looks like a sporran.
I know it does. It's quite worrying. And I just, I'm enjoying having a beard, but I wish it was all the same colour. It's a kind of St Mirren beard. You know what I mean?
But never quite made the grade.
I just wish it would make up its mind.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be one of these guys that dyes their beard. Because I know a guy that dyes, he's about 10 years older than me, and he dyes his beard and his hair jet black, and he looks like General Zod from Superman. He's got an old face, and then there's jet black, and I'm like, can I get away with that? I just want to hurry up and I just want to be an old man. Just hurry up.
There's something quite
There's something
quite distinguished about it, though. Do you know what I mean? A kind of peppered beard.
Aye, but I would rather just go full Santa Claus,
Well, why don't you just dye the top bit? Just dye the top.
Grey.
Dye.
How do you do that?
Just peroxide. Just a blonde moustache.
Kind of like there's a white stripe down here.
Whoa! Right? That looks like a badger's back.
It does. This is worse than getting the virus. It's just like, I'm going to have to do something about it, and I don't like shaving completely off because then I just look really, really weird.
See, these are the problems. These are the problems that we all have to deal with when you're locked in the house. You're just looking at yourself all the time.
When I was in River City, it was still quite black, apart from this white stripe here, and they had to mascara every day. It was really bizarre. Makeup artists still get PTSD from that. It's like painting, because I was a big guy then, it was like painting the 4th Railway.
Oh, what fun. So apart from beard growing, what have you been doing during lockdown to keep yourself amused?
Nothing.
Hee-haw?
Nothing. I tell you what I've done, right? Tiger King. With everybody else, at the same time as everybody else.
Yeah.
Then a bit of kind of existential crisis. Then I kind of started enjoying it, thinking I'm quite liking not having to speak to folk and not having to do anything. Then what did I do? Schitt's Creek. Watched the whole of that. Loved it.
It's good.
Then I kind of I got really ill, which was fun. It was great. It was depression. You ever had that? I'm not just talking about I feel depressed. I'm talking about you are a slab of concrete for a month, Yeah. So I had that. And then one of the things that cured me of that was The Sopranos, which I'd never seen.
I've never seen The Sopranos.
Never seen it.
I actually I've never seen it either, to be honest.
Listen, right, I've had 20 years of people going, what? You've never seen The Sopranos? And that kind of made me not want to watch it because when everybody goes, and I kept saying, I'll wait until I broke my leg, or I'll wait until there's, and here you go, a global pandemic.
Yeah.
So I'll just watch The Sopranos, and then it ended up being the best thing I've ever seen.
How many series are there of The Sopranos?
What?
How many series are there of The Sopranos?
6 or 7. 6, I think.
That's enough to fill your time.
6, and then another one that's kind of still 6, but 7. And it's just the best. It's just the best thing I've ever seen. Wow. And I ended up mailing people and apologising to them for not taking their advice 20 years ago. I said, look, I'm really sorry I never watched The Sopranos. Sorry I didn't believe you. because I just thought it was about gangsters, but it's not. It's about mental health, and it's about family, and it's brilliant. So, and then what else did I do? I've just been making. I'm quite obsessive about music, so I've just been making these crazy, complicated, really involved music videos. Have you seen any of them?
I've seen a couple of them. I had a wee look on
Did you
your
see
Twitter
Bohemian
today.
Rhapsody?
Yes, I did. That was fucking. How long did that take you to?
Well, it was when I wasn't well, right? So I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure, but it was. I think it was 2 weeks of planning it in my head.
Okay.
And then it was 1 day of recording it. So I spent 2 weeks working out what the harmonies were, because it's really intricate, right? Yeah. And I've got a bizarre brain when it comes to music. So I spent about 2 weeks working it out, thinking how I was going to do it. What will I do? Who can I get to play the guitar solo? Who will I, and then I thought, I'll just sing the guitar solo. And that ended up being the thing that everybody freaked out about. Mm-hmm. And then I put it online and it went nuts. And it started going viral, which freaks me out. I had to take to my bed. And then Brian May from Queen put it on his website. And then I got all these hardcore Queen fans getting really annoyed at me. How dare he think that he can, So I ended up just switching off the internet for a while and not looking...
Going full caveman.
Not looking directly at it, So there's about 15 of these videos now that I've done, and it just keep me busy and keep me from going off my head. So I do about one a week and put them up. So one went up yesterday. It was an old Extreme song. Wholehearted it's called, and did that. I did Good Vibrations. I did a kind of 90s dance thing a couple of weeks ago. And I just give myself projects because I can't sit here and do nothing. Yeah. I can't sit and watch the telly. I can if it's something like The Sopranos, I'll get involved, but I can't waste all that time. I've got to be busy and I've got to be creating and doing stuff. So sometimes I'll wake up at 3 a.m, there'll be a song in my head and I'll just get up and I'll keep going till I've done it. Mr. Blue Sky's the next one. There's an exclusive for you.
Wow.
So have you always been like that, Tom?
Aye.
You can see that in the pain in your eyes. Aye, Greg, I've not had a full night's sleep fucking years.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting. It genuinely is. No, I mean, I've always been, music's always been my thing. I don't know why I ended up acting. I don't know. I think I just landed in the theatre and somebody went, he'd say this. I never intended to act. Mm-hmm. And I've never, I like doing telly and film. I don't like doing theatre, and I kept getting loads of theatre stuff.
So why do you not like doing theatre?
Oh, because it's hard work. Do you know what I don't like, right? There's things I do like about theatre. I don't like going to see theatre because I rarely understand what's going on. Mm-hmm. You know? So I'll go in and I'll sit down and then within 2 minutes I won't know who any of them are or what they're talking about. And then somebody will come on with a shopping trolley and they'll just play, and then some actor will come on playing a different part than they were 10 minutes ago, but you're meant to know. And I need things explained. I'm not the brightest, right? So I need things signposted for me. So I'm not in love with going to the theatre, and I'm equally not in love with being on stage in the theatre because it's just, I'm not great with repetition. So Panto's the perfect example. I've done a few of them. By, some of the bigger ones start late November and they end at the end of January. And you're sitting in the third week of January and you're going, if I hear we're all on this together from High School Musical one more time, I am going to blow this place up. And you're sitting there in a damp costume you've been wearing for 3 months. Nobody cares about Christmas anymore. It's just old folks' homes that are coming in. So it's just pish and lavender wafting onto the stage. And you're going, I'm getting 10 bob for this, and nobody's. And so I'm not in love with theatre. A lot of actors go, the theatre's and I'm just not. There's about 20 folk telling you what to do, you've got to be there every day and do the same thing every day. And whereas with telly and film and stuff, you never do the same thing twice. It's constantly new and changing and challenging, and loads of people see it if you do telly and film. If you do theatre, you'll get couple of hundred photos. That's it. Nobody. What were you doing last year? I did loads of theatre. Oh, I never saw any, but
I did King Lear. Aye, did you? Cool story.
I know. No, I've done. I mean, do you know what? Sometimes it's a laugh. I like doing Oranmore. Oranmore does do this thing called a play a pie and a pint, and it's a different play every week, and it's a hoot. And I've written one, and I've been. I did their summer panto, which was a hoot because we got to swear in it and stuff. So see if it's a laugh and it's a bit light-hearted, I like it. But see if it's one of these big productions that's got 20 stage managers and everybody's. It's like having 20 bosses, and I don't like getting around. I don't like loads of folk telling me what to do. So I'm just like that. I'm just like, even though I don't smoke, I'm like, all right.
I get it.
Calm down. My God, it's only right. So I've done the past 3 years. I've done panto every year, and I've done it. It's me and Darren Connell that do it. You know Darren Connell from Scott Squad.
Yes. Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
So we kind of teamed up and we do this panto every year in Dundee. Obviously, we're not doing it this year because there's a wee bug going about that means we can't do it. But that makes it really enjoyable because he's a comedy genius. So I get to see him being a comedy genius every day, and because he kind of riffs off himself, and the audience, the show's never the same twice. So really? Every day you don't know what he's going to do. Because he'll go off a tangent. I mean, he was doing. Have you met Darren? Have you had him on your podcast?
No, I haven't. I've tried to get him on. Like I tried to get him on really, really like at the beginning of the kind of pandemic. Like, but I'd love to get him on. Like, because he's.
I'll talk him into it. Right.
Good man.
So Darren will and I. Together because I could see it in his eyes when he'd thought of something funny, so I would shut up to let him do the funny thing, and he would end up just stopping the show and shouting out to the audience, help, why am I in a panto? I'm a stand-up comedian, why am I in a panto? Why am I wearing a dress? I'm a brickie, I'm a time-served brickie. Mate. And he would point at somebody's dad in the audience, go, mate, can I come and stay at your house? Have you got a shed? I'll live in your shed, mate. I can do driveways. I can do homers. Does anybody want I can do homers. I need to get out of this panto. I don't know why I'm in a panto. And then I'm standing there in tears, laughing. We can't get the show started again because the whole audience are pissing themselves. He's a genius. You need to get him on. I'll
definitely.
Is I've Joe, it's just me I was talking about the play Pie and Pint. Do you know a guy called Ian Sexton?
I know the name.
He's a voiceover artist, but he does a lot of. He did some stuff in the Oranmore. He did famously. He did the car in front's a Toyota advert, and he did the sports division. Right names, right prices. That guy. I thought you might know him. No. All right, no, because Sexton's a lovey. Do you know what I mean? And he's always in about the Oranmore, and he's one of them.
All
right.
You know what I mean? Well, I can be a lovey. You know, I have my moments. I can. Do you know what the worst thing is? See, when you go to the theatre, specifically when I go to the theatre and I don't understand the play, which is pretty much all the time, unless it's something like South Pacific or something. Because I don't know. See if it's something that's weird and a bit, and then somebody that's in it that I know comes up to me afterwards and goes, "What do you think?" And I go, I loved it. They go, what did you like about it? And I went, oh man, well, you know, it's just a great example of that kind of thing. it was, you know, it was good, and you were great. Oh, you were great, and that it was great. It was really, really good. And they know me, so they'll go, you didn't understand it, do you? And I go, not a fucking word.
No, it was not.
I slept. I fell asleep about 2 minutes in. I've got no suspension of disbelief. So see that way where you're going, why is he pretending to lift a thing that I need the thing? I didn't go to drama college, so I don't know how to be a burning smell. You know, and I don't know how to I don't know how to kind of pretend I'm a bit of bacon for. I didn't do any of all that bullshit that you need to do. So
Just kidding on him a tree, you know. That's
no, and you know, we're talking about the lovies, and there's a lot of people in theatre, and I'm never going to work in theatre again if any of them watch this. There's this new thing that has been driving me mad, and it's been on my Facebook the past few days because it's been upsetting me. I hate new invented words like upcycle.
Oh, yeah.
And pre-loved and nom and stuff like that. It just drives me insane. And now actors and directors and people have started calling themselves theatre makers. Oh. Hello, yes, my name's Tabitha. I'm a theatre maker. And I go, whoa, what theatres have you made?
I know that.
You're a theatre maker. What does that mean?
So fuck that.
It's a suitably wanky term, isn't it?
Oh, man. So I don't fit in that world. I love them all, but I don't fit into it properly. So... yeah. Genuinely, when a theatre thing comes up, I'm like that. Oh, man, because I'm not cut out for it. I don't have the stamina for. I've got stamina for loads of other things, but I don't have the stamina to be doing a thing I'm not that into for 6-day shows.
I know.
It's like, whoa, no, and then I end up crab it, and I end up falling out with folk. And if there's a cycle in the show, you're stuck with them for 60 shows. Oh my God, there's a psycho and I've got to spend every day with them for the next 3 months. No.
Yeah, that's
maybe
so
I'm the psycho.
Was it theatre? Was your first kind of your first bridge into acting? Was that your no? So what was your first? What was your first
actually, that's a lie. It was.
So what was it? What was your first ever acting?
I was Baloo in the Jungle Book. I'm serious. It was. I ended up working with a singing kettle.
Oh yeah,
at the King's Theatre.
Amazing.
Right. Well, no, I used to do right. What when I went to music college, I went to like contemporary music college to do like, singing and guitar and stuff. And my mate was Jane, who was Scylla and Artie's daughter, the singing kettle. And then, so I went to work with them for a while, and I did some shows, and I did some music, and I did some voiceovers. So I used to, when you go out and saw them at the Kings, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Singing Kettle. That was me, and I wrote a few songs. Man. I wrote a few songs for them as well, and I lived in their attic for a while.
What?
I lived in their attic. Well, I was 21 or 22 or something, and I was working for them, and I'd nowhere to stay, so I stayed in their attic. They had a nice attic. It was all right.
As far as attics go.
And it was up in darkest Fife, you know. So, but through that, I ended up working at the Bayer Theatre in St Andrews.
Okay.
And I kind of left the Singing Kettle to do the Bayer Theatre. So I did a few acting roles there. I was Baloo in the Jungle Book, which I played as Chick Murray. Have you ever heard of Chick Murray?
Oh, aye, yes.
Yeah.
I played Baloo as Chick Murray. It was like, young Mowgli. The jungle's a dangerous place. You've got to watch yourself, you know. And that was an absolute just riot because the rest of the cast were a hoot and I had a great time. And we used to do the show. It would finish at 9 o'clock and we'd just go down to Castle Beach in St Andrews with a big carry-out and guitars.
Yes.
So I did that for a while, but then I moved to Glasgow and just started doing music. So started doing session singing, so singing for adverts and backing vocals for people was the main thing that I did. I ended up working at Savage Studios in the West End, which is where Deacon Blue...
Well, okay, I'm going to tell you a wee story about Savage, right? Okay, so see Helen that owns Savage?
Yeah.
Her partner, Belzy.
That one's guitar.
Yeah, that was my dad's best pal.
Really?
Yeah, my dad owned a record label and a recording studio. My dad owned Centre City Sound, Chow Productions in Charing Cross.
Yeah, I remember it well.
Yeah, that was my dad that owned it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, my dad.
Oh, Helen, I've not seen Helen for years and years.
Yeah, my dad passed away last year. And,
oh, man, sorry about that.
Aye, but my dad was the first guy to record Wet, Wet, Wet and Deacon.
What was your dad's name?
Derek Chalmers. He had a moustache. Played the bass. He played the bass in Middle of the Road for a while.
I played keyboards for Middle of the Road one night, probably with your dad.
What, man?
That is incredible.
When did your dad last play with Middle of the
Road? When I was when I was.
All right, no, okay, no, I played keyboards with a kind of recent Middle of the Road.
Oh right, okay, no, my dad played with them in Germany when they toured with Sister Sledge and all that.
So like the talk of all the USA and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I loved all that.
Yeah, so that
Solely,
was
solely.
yeah, all that jazz. I think was my dad's, and so him
Do you know what? I probably did know your dad. I probably knew him. Because I really, really knew Helen well. I've not seen her for a long, long time, not since Sava stopped.
Yeah.
I've got Sava's sideboard in my living room. When Brian Young sold it and they've turned it into flats and he moved Sava, he phoned me up and he went, "You like old shitey furniture, don't you?" And I was like, "Aye, it's like heroin for me." She said, "Do you want the sideboard from Studio 2?" And I went, yes, it's amazing. Because it was the sideboard that had been there. The first time I was working in Sava was when I was 17. Wow. So it's the sideboard that had been there all these years, with all these people coming through and putting their stuff in it.
Yeah.
And all these. So it's now and I think it's haunted. It's a haunted sideboard in my living room with all these memories.
I've got Delamitri's backline in my storage unit, like the original, Delamitri's original for original speakers. I've still got them with the spray paint with Delamitri on it.
Man,
I know. They were in my old flat, plugged into an iPod.
Brilliant. It's amazing the shite you collect, isn't it? My flatmate when I first moved to Glasgow was Tony Dugan, who worked in Sava.
Oh, okay.
And he ended up going on to be a producer, and they produced Belle and Sebastian and loads of stuff like that.
Wow, man.
So he kind of, I kind of sneaked in with him, and I ended up doing backing vocals for Run Rig and for an artist called Horse. I don't know if you guys are too young to remember.
That rings a bell.
Horse and Carol Walla, and I never worked with Deacon Blue, but I know them really well now. I did loads of adverts for the radio with Paul Leonard Morgan, who had the studio at the back of Sava, and he's now in Hollywood, and he wrote the music for Dread, and he's now a big Hollywood film composer. Doing incredibly well, winning Golden Globes and all that kind of stuff.
Wow. Do you know Chris Judge?
Yes.
Yeah, I know Chris Judge well.
Chris Judge and I have worked together loads with a gospel choir together.
Yeah, so Chris and my dad were good friends, but Chris's dad and my dad knew each other.
Billy Big Time.
Yeah, Billy Big Time for way back. Yeah.
Billy Big Time was my agent for a while.
So you would definitely have known my old man, 100%, because my dad... I must have done. Yeah, you must have done.
I must have done, mate. I must have done. And I'm Chow Productions. Is that still going? Is that now opposite where Insomnia Cafe was?
No, it's all finished now when my dad passed away. So everything it was. So they were in. It was sent. It was. Do you know the flyover at Charing Cross?
Yes.
See if you're walking across that flyover as if you're going towards the West End.
Where the snooker hall is.
There's an Indian restaurant on the ground, and then they were all upstairs. There was like 6 rehearsal rooms and a recording.
It's just down the road to the snooker hall, isn't it?
Wait a minute, they used to do cassette duplication.
Yes,
that's right.
That's how I know your dad.
Yes.
Because I did that. I went in there quite a lot to get cassettes duplicated, so I must have known your dad from there.
Yeah, they used to have the cassette shells, and they used to have the big machines that would fire a tape in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was
brought up there when I was like,
yeah.
So that's where I was kind of brought up as a wee guy. Right, so I've spent all my summer holidays in there because
that's how I know it. Then that's how I love knowing your dad.
Yeah,
that's mental. What a small world.
Very much so. Because his business partner was Nick Lowe. Do you know Nick?
Yes, I know Nick really, really well.
Yeah, so Nick and my dad were really, really close. Nick's son actually worked for me for a while. I'm a photographer. And so Jack worked for me for quite a long time. But Nick, I still speak to Nick.
Nick, I've worked with Nick a lot with Demas, and I've done a lot of stuff for him. And I sat in for Ashley Story on the radio. And just over the past 10, 20 years, I've ended up working with Nick quite a lot. In fact, do you know what? Nick was the first person that got me doing anything that was slightly kind of telly radio.
Really?
Because in the late, I've got a cat scratching my couch. Monkey, fucking behave. Right, wee dick, come here and say hello. Do you want to see the world's fattest cat? Right? This is a big fat bastard.
Whoa!
Look! It's like a dog. Monkey, look! He's got a dreamies habit. It's like Dreamies. It's like crack for cat. What was I going to say? Yeah, Nick. About, oh God, man, when is it? When was 1998? 22 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The BBC brought out this charity single version of Perfect Day,
Okay.
which had all people, Bono and Her people,
right.
and Ronan Keating and everybody. And I did a version of it live at a charity gig where I impersonated them all. And it was me and Karen Dunbar. She was doing something at it, and she took me along as her pal. And she went, look, going to get up there and do Perfect Day. I'll cut one of my songs and you come up and do Perfect Day. And I went up and did it, and Brian Burnett and Janice Forsyth were in the audience, and Nick Lowe.
Yeah.
And they went, going to come on Janice Forsyth's show. We're doing it live in Argyle Street on Saturday and do it there. So I ended up on the Janice Forsyth show doing Perfect Day. And the other people on the show were who was that band? The Mavericks.
Oh,
On as well. Just wanna dance the night away. And so from that, Fred Macaulay heard it. And then Fred Macaulay got me on his show once a week to co-host. It used to have two co-hosts. So I ended up kind of getting in amongst the BBC. And Nick Lowe was a big part of getting me to do it. That's mental.
Yeah, because Nick and my dad years ago, they had the record label and that, but they put on New Order in the garage before it was the garage.
What was it called before the garage? I should know.
Can't remember. My dad told me. But so Nick and my dad were business partners from.
Right. Oh, Nick's a great guy. Nick's a lovely guy.
I did a bit of camera work for him when he was doing the Scottish Rally Championships, when he was doing all that stuff. So it was, do you know, like Struan Adam and Russell
I know
Walker?
Struan. I know Struan. Because I did an episode of Up For It last year with Ashley and Christopher MacArthur Boyd and Roscoe. And it's Struan was the cameraman and Nick was the producer. So
yeah. And Russell Walker was working with us as well at that. No, Russell,
right.
With the Clyde One football phone in Russell Walker.
All right, I don't know anything about football.
No, all right, okay. Well, he was there as well.
Not a thing. It's like people have speaking another language. See, another thing about actors, right? Scottish actors all talk about football all the time. I didn't know this. Mm-hmm. So in River City, they would shout, cut, right? Everybody take a break for 5 minutes. And I go, oh, brilliant, would sit down. And then somebody would go, and then they would start speaking this football language that it honestly is like somebody speaking Zulu. I go, what? Why is everybody suddenly talking about what? All right, football. I don't understand which is because my brother, who I believe was your geography teacher.
He sure was.
Yes, it was.
My brother Jeff is a football fanatic. Absolutely. So is my sister. And I think that my brother got all the football genes. And there was none left for me. So I don't even have a concept of why anybody likes it or what they're doing. I mean, if I look at a football field and I see people, I've got no idea what they're doing or why anybody wants to watch it. It's really strange. And it's really weird being Scottish and not having a clue. Not even being able to pretend to have a clue about it.
You don't know the buzzwords.
I'll come and watch for a laugh because I'll just stand there going, why? It's like, oh, we're all going to go and watch the algebra on Saturday. oh, brilliant! The algebra's on. No, we're moving EastEnders tonight because we're going to watch the algebra, and then there's going to be a 40-minute program after it for people to talk about how the algebra went. That's what it feels like to me. It's really. I think I'm an alien. Can't do it.
Gonna get highlights of Sudoku on.
Man, honestly, I just don't understand.
So, what I also ask you about is how you got in tow with the Still Game, Camden Bar, Chewin the Fat Folk, because what I did not realise that you are Martin in Still Game.
That's true, yes. And I get it shouted at me quite a lot.
I didn't realise it was you until today. I was like, because is that right, Martin? Aye, Martin. It's so funny.
I got about 3-4 years ago. I got really serious surgery, and I was lying on the trolley, about to go into the operating theatre, really shiting myself because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. Fuck. You know, really, really serious, really scared. And this hospital porter was pushing me along. And he went, how are you feeling? And I went, I'm really scared. And he went, maybe if you have a jobby, Martin, your mom can wipe your ass for you, Martin. I just went,
Oh,
Pick your fucking
I hope I die. I hope I die. No, I'll tell you what happened. I was pals with Karen Dunbar. We used to sing round all the karaoke's in Glasgow. We figured out that because she's a fantastic singer, right? Mm-hmm. We figured out that if we went into a wee pub that had a karaoke on and we went up and sung like New York, New York or something, we wouldn't have to pay for a drink. So we would end up in like, the Surrey Head, and we would, you know, just go down pubs and go up and sing, and then would get pissed for nothing. So we were pals, and she got an audition for the comedy unit who made all these shows, and it was every couple of years they do an open audition where they just say, everybody come in and do something funny, and if you're good, we'll maybe talk to you about doing something. So Karen went up dressed as a cleaner.
Okay.
And went in and started cleaning their office and making them lift their feet. And they were in stitches laughing at her. So they got her back in. They gave her a part in Rhapsody Nesbitt, right? Which we just were like, I can't believe that. So she ended up in that. And then she ended up doing Chewin the Fat when it was on the radio. It was originally a radio series before it was on the TV. And then they made it into a TV show. So they did one series. And then after the second series, it really took off. Because the second series is the one where they started the Gonna No Day That stuff, and that's what hooked people in. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they wanted to do it live. They wanted to do a live theatre sketch show of it. So they did it at the Citizens Theatre, and Karen phoned me and went, look, they want to do a panto ending with the songs, you know, His Majesty's Home for the Blind and all that. My mate Joe's a burglar and all that. So they said, Karen, they'd said, do you know anybody that can play piano? And Karen went, oh, my pal Tom can play the piano. So I went along to the Citizens Theatre thinking, all right. And I knew Ford because I had been in a thing with Ford. I'd been an extra in a film, and Ford was in it. And I kind of got to know him during that. So he remembered me. And so they got me to play piano at the end of the Chewin the Fat live sketch show, but they also got me to do other bits and bobs like in the Ronald Villiers sketch and other things like that on the stage. But at the end in the piano, and they made me wear a dress and be an old woman, so I was kind of the first Isa. No, so I was like, so it was Jack and Victor, you know, and I was the piano player. And they were, oh, hello there, wee cheeky, and my mate, just so. That went to that was a really big success, and when Chewin the Fat really took off, we did it in the King's Theatre. So we did that there at the King's, and then they just got me, when they made Series 3, they just said, just come and be in it, in the telly version as well. So I ended up in that. Series 3 and 4 and Chewin the Fat popped up in a couple of sketches every episode. It was whenever they needed a seventh person. You know, they needed 7 people in a sketch. They phoned me. And I remember one of the days was 9/11. And I was on my way in, and my dad phoned me and said, it told me what had happened. And I got in, and everybody thought I was winding them up. Because these guys all wind each other up the whole time. They're all... Ford had believed for 4 weeks that Fatima Whitbread was dead because everybody had wound him up. No, and people would mention it every couple of days. Oh, that's Fatima's funeral. It's a shame that, you know. So they all had wind-ups going, so they're all like, hey, stop trying to join in with the wind-ups because you know. And I went, I'm serious. The World Trade Centers, a plane, jumbo jets have crashed in. Shut up, get the fuck off. And there wasn't, you know, nobody had smartphones or anything. I didn't get smartphones back in the day. But that was that. God, that was Series 3 or Series 4. But through that, the comedy unit then signed me up as an actor, kind of in-house actor. So they were my agents. So I ended up working with Jonathan Watson and Philip Duff. I did Only an Excuse for 4 years, which is, as I've said before, I don't understand football. Yep. Was a bit of a, you know, I had to have everything explained to me, you know, and it became funny. It was like to Johnny Watson. I was like, Johnny, what? Who? Who's this guy? Who's Jockstein? You know, who? And then I was doing all these comedy sketches and stuff and going, I don't get the joke. I don't understand. And then folk would watch it and then go, oh, I thought you were brilliant as, and then they would say a name and I'd go, was that the guy with the stripy shirt or was it the guy? But that was a real education. It was a real kind of, that was like my college, working with these guys, working with people like Jonathan Watson and Ford and Greg. And then when Chewin the Fat finished, the boys went off to make Still Game. And Karen, first of all, actually, we made a pilot for a sitcom starring Karen's character that was the school teacher. You couldn't ask a question of that.
Tracy Snedden.
When you bring a decent bag to school. We did a half-hour sitcom of that, and it was her. I was an art teacher. Gerard Kelly was the janitor. Kate Dickie was in it. There was a lot of big names in this pilot, and it didn't get, I don't know why it didn't get made into a series. It just didn't happen. It never got shown. But then they decided to give Karen her own sketch show. So I was much more involved in that than I had been in Chewin the Fat. And they've just started repeating it. They've started repeating it on BBC Scotland. The first one was on Thursday, and I've not seen it since it was first on. So Karen and I had dreamed up these characters called Almost Angelic, which was a cabaret duo.
Okay.
And it would be me and the piano and Karen singing, and would do Casio tone versions of songs that were in the charts. We let the dogs out. Have you seen any of this?
No.
Never seen Almost Angelic?
No.
No.
But I will be. I will be watching it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's getting written down now.
She was like this cabaret woman called Angela who used to sing things. She used to sing everything in a Scottish accent. And we were playing like 50-year-olds, but we were much younger. But so it was singing things like, and I was miserable, and I would do backing vocals, but really grumpily. So she would go, "Who let the dogs out?" And I'd go, "Woof, woof, woof, woof." And then she would, "I saw him shagging on the counter." It was me.
Yeah.
And then things. What else? We're in a piano bar, and she would go, "It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes." "I'm getting so hot, I want to take my clothes off." You need to Google it. If you've not seen Almost Angelic, boys, you'll really love it. You'll love it. It's on BBC Scotland every Thursday just now.
Right, okay, that's getting...
So we did that for four series of that, we did. And then it stopped. These things all stop. So it stopped.
Yeah.
But I did do that one thing in Still Game, but it genuinely was... They started filming, I'm sure, I might be wrong about this, but I think they started filming the second series of Still Game before the first one went out. So I wasn't even really sure what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And they'd phoned me up and went, "Can you come in on Tuesday morning and do it's like a one scene. We just need somebody to be at a bus stop." And I went, "Aye." So I think I got the script the night before and I read it and I went, all right. So I got there. It was 7:15 in the morning in Maryhill. There was an actress playing my mother, and she wasn't an old woman. She was a young woman dressed up as old, because that's the kind of Still Game thing.
Yeah.
So I just learned this bit, did it, and then went back home and went to my bed and forgot I had done it. Completely forgot I'd done it. And then I don't think I even saw it when it came on. Because I was DJing and stuff, and I was never in, and then all of a sudden, I'd be in Bray Head, and people would be shouting, if you have a job with Martin, you're mocking wipe your ass for you, Martin. And I was going, why are people shouting this random shite at me? What's going on? I thought the world had gone mad. And then it was happening all the time, and then I went. I thought I'd dreamt that. That's that thing, because it was like 8 months later or something. So then, and to this day, I mean, this is what, 18 years later, 19 years later, at least 3 times a week. Not at the moment because I don't leave the house, but at least 3 times a week, somebody will go, "Maybe know me, Martin, you're not," you know, thinking they're the first person that's ever said it. But no, actually, it happens on Twitter all the time. Every time I tweet, somebody replies, "Maybe if you've a job with Martin, you're mocking." And the thing that I loved was I've done the 3 Still Game live shows at the Hydro.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did you?
I did all the music for them. I wrote and produced all the music for the 3 live shows.
Wow!
And at the end of the final show, when they died and went to heaven, and at the end, all their catchphrases came up on the big screen towards the end with the, back off, you spooky bitch, and I never ate a hot dog, and all that and stuff and all that stuff came up. And just 3 before the end, I went to Ford and Greg and I went, look, I'd love to do a wee Alfred Hitchcock moment with this, just to kind of round off. I said, can we please have one of the quotes as maybe if you have a jobby, Martin, you're mocking what you're asking, Martin. And Ford went, aye. So I recorded Ford saying it. And it was a really moving thing, and the audience were all kind of really involved in it. And then up on the big screen, it just went, maybe if you have a jobby, Martin, you're mocking it. And there was a big round of applause in the Hydro, and I went, that's for Martin. And I kind of got involved. I got my bit in.
That's amazing, man.
I know. But I mean, that was an amazing experience, because the first Still Game live show, they asked me to write this big Bollywood number at the end when Isa drinks mushroom soup. So I got to. She drinks mushroom soup, and it's magic mushrooms. So she starts tripping, and Winston ends up going up to space. And so I got to write that with Ford and Greg. They wrote the words, and I put the tune to it, and then did the backing track and went in and recorded them. And then the second one they went on a cruise ship, got to do all this kind of mad cruise ship music. And then the final farewell at the Hydro last year was a full-scale musical with about 9 original songs in it. And so 6 weeks, I was in the rehearsal room with them for 6 weeks, working out all these songs, writing new songs, up at Ford's house, writing songs with them. When Winston got to heaven, he got his leg back. I wrote a song about Winston getting his leg back. And then when they go to heaven, they meet Jesus, and Jesus was Methadone Mick. And then they meet God at the end, and God is Karen Dunbar. And she hadn't worked with him since Chewing the Fat. So
that's amazing.
Karen, the whole stage turns around and God, hallelujah, and it's Karen Dunbar as the dirty old woman that loves the bobby. Right? So me and Ford wrote this song called B is for the Bobby. And so Karen comes down this huge staircase as God, dressed as this old woman, singing a song called B is for the Bobby that I love so much. And then this giant Bobby comes out and starts dancing with God. And you're just like, I'm just like that. When Ford told me about it, I went, what people are going to walk out. And he went, I know. So there was a few people who were horrified, but it was a riot, absolute riot.
That is incredible. I didn't know that you did all that stuff for them at the Hydro. That's amazing.
Aye. Well, I mean, it was the first one we did was when they first came back, and then we did a second one, and then the last one was the big one last year, which was just full-scale music from start to finish, and it was the biggest job I've ever done, actually, because it was, I produced all of it. I didn't have any other musicians. I had a bagpiper, but and I was stationed in the rehearsal room in a corner for 6 weeks. So it was all done on the hop. They would come over and have an idea and give it to me, and then 3-4 hours later I would have a track done for it. So, and then just to see it in the Hydro with 14,000 people and go, I sat and
that's
on this keyboard. Do you know what I mean? Filling the Hydro with my shitey £200 piano. But no, it was great. And do you know what was really nice? Because that was the last shout. That was the last thing to do. So it was really nice to be there at the end. Having been there at the beginning, because what is good about them is that they use the same people all the time. So the same makeup people, the same the same props people, all the same script editor. So it's like a company that come back together every 2 or 3 years. They'll end up doing something else. I mean, they said that's the end, but wait until everybody will be skinned soon. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's like the Rolling Stones, isn't it? It's the farewell tour.
I mean, they'll come back for the dead or something. Something will happen. But it was just nice to be there at the end and to kind of see it through and be with that gang of people for that length of time.
It's such a huge show, and it's so culturally significant in Scotland, do you know what I mean? And to be part of that, especially on a huge stage like that, man, that's a massive feather in your cap, man. That's amazing.
It was, and the thing is, you guys are surprised that I did it. Nobody knows I did it.
They all know.
How come you're not in River 30 anymore? I'm like, well, I've been doing other stuff. What have you been doing? I'm like, Well, you know, because I think in Scotland, if you leave
Yeah.
River City, I think people think,
Oh dear.
that's you finished now.
Oh, you had a good run, son.
That's it. You know, can you not? Will they not have you back? Can you not go back? Can you let? Do you want to go? Are you going back to your job you did 8 years ago? How come you're not How come you're not going back to Tesco? Why did you leave that? You know,
So talking about River City, it was obviously a massive part of your career. So how did that come about, and did you enjoy the experience?
Absolutely. How did that come about? Well, I had done a show at a play pie and a pint called Sweet Home Balmaha.
I've heard the song.
Yes.
Have you?
Yeah, I listened to it today on YouTube.
All right, brilliant. So Sweet Home Balmaha, which I co-wrote with two of my mates, Donnie and Matt, and me and Matthew wrote the music, and Donnie kind of wrote most of the script. I was playing this really grumpy old musician that had a number 2 hit in the 70s, and had bought a pub in Balmaha and had a son that wanted to be in a boy band and go on the X Factor and everything. So I was this bitter, raging old muso that swore like a trooper, and it was a hoot, an absolute hoot. The whole show's online somewhere. Actually, I'll send you a link to it.
Yeah.
Somebody filmed it. And two of the writers from River City were in the audience. And a few months later, one of them, half knew one of them, and she phoned me and went, "Look, we'd really like you to be in River City, but it's not up to us." I don't even know if I've told them this. Fuck it. Fuck it, it's an exclusive. They said, "We've written this character that you're perfect for, and we've written it for you, right? But we can't suggest you, and we can't, we've got no control over the casting process, but we've written it especially for you. It's for a big guy who's a musician, who looks like you and fits your description and all this. So get your agent, you know." So eventually I got this audition for River City, and I went in, and I'm always terrible in auditions. I'm terrible at it. I'm not good at it at all. Hold on. And I always try and be funny, and it never works. Like, the worst one was, I went for an audition for a film, and the part was man with pliers. And the line was, there was only one line, and the line was, "I've brought my own pliers."
Is that a porno?
So, no, it wasn't. It was an Irvin Welsh thing, right?
All right, okay.
And I went, "Do you know what would be funny?" Because I always think you need to make them remember you. I went, "I'm going to take pliers for the audition." So I got into the audition, and they went, "Hi, right, next in you come. And right, you're reading, Tom Urie reading for Man with Pliers." I'm like, "Thanks very much." And they're like, "Right, just whenever you're ready." And I got the pliers out of my pocket and went, "I've brought my own pliers." And they just stared at me and went, "Right, thanks very much." And I didn't get the part. So I'm always an arsehole on auditions. So I went to the audition, and I went in, and they were nice, you know, and I was like, "How you doing?" Oh, blah, blah, blah. "Yeah, but Big Bob, is it? Oh, right. Oh, right. Pretending I didn't know. And they said, "If you could just look into the camera and say your name and your agent." And I went, "Tom Urie, Widdicombe and Pump."
Oh, I like it. I like it. That is
And
good.
they just went, "I thought you were with BWH." And I went, "Oh, no, sorry, I was kidding. I said, Ronald Villiers. It's a joke.
Jokes are no funny when you've got to explain them.
It's a joke." And they went, "Oh, right, is it? Right, well, can you just do the scene?" And I went, so I did the audition, right? And then they went, "Well, thanks for coming in." And I thought, "Oh, man, fuck that." So then I came back home, and then one of the writers went, "Oh, well, they loved you." And I went, "Right, great." And they said, "But somebody's saying no." And I went, "Right, who?" And they went, "Well, we can't tell you. We don't know, but somebody's saying no." So there was this went on for about 6-7 weeks. And eventually they got me in for another audition. And I went in and I took my guitar in this time. And then about another 2 weeks, it was agony, about another 2 weeks after that, they said, right, you've got the part, it's for 2 episodes. And we're just in the process of casting your mother. And we've offered it to Una McLean. And I went, oh, man, she's a legend. Mm-hmm. What a legend. Because I'd met her a few times as well and she'd be perfect. So she got the part as well. So we went in for 2 episodes, the Christmas episodes, Christmas and New Year. It was me and her went in and we immediately hit it off. And I really hit it off with the actors that were there. And I just hit the ground running with it. I really liked it. Mm-hmm. So after the 2 episodes, they said, look, just stay. We'll bring you back in 5 episodes time. So just stay. So stay till the end of whatever. So I ended up staying there for 5 years.
Wow.
And that was a huge education as well, because I just learned about TV acting, which is really different from theatre acting. Theatre acting is, filling a space. And with teleacting, if you end up watching The Sopranos, that he's the master of it, James Gandolfini. He can convey a whole, exactly what he's thinking just by what his eyes do. It's so obvious when you can see somebody that can't do it, and you've got to be pulled right in. So 5 years of doing that with people that knew how to do it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. So it really stood me in good stead for anything else I did as well. And also, it was hard work. It was really hard work, a lot of stuff to learn, and you get so that somebody can hand you a page of script and you can learn it in under a minute quickly. You get a weird kind of muscle.
Wow.
So it was a great discipline, and it was a great place to work. It wasn't always a great place to work, but most of the time it was. Yeah. And I made some pals there that I'm still really good pals with, and I miss them. It's good.
Yeah. It must be difficult going from, you were talking about the theatre stuff when it's just like repetition and all the time, and you think, and at a certain point that kind of your muscle memory sort of kicks in. You're just saying the words without thinking. But like you were saying there about having to you can read the script and you kind of know what the character would say anyway, I think. So you could maybe, even if you didn't have it verbatim, you could kind of change it a wee bit and stuff.
No, you need to stick to the script with that. Just depends who's directing it, but that's what you mean. You do get to really know the character and what they would say. So then, when something's in a script that they wouldn't say, you're like, oh man. And there was a spate. Oh God, I'll not get into trouble. Fuck it. There was a spate of somebody. There was a new producer in or something, and they brought up loads of writers from Hollyoaks and EastEnders, writing Glaswegian scripts. So they had us saying things like "Chance will be a fine thing," "Knock it on the head" and all that. And there was this script supervisor insisting we said it, and I'm like, that Big Bob is not going to say city. He's going to say couch.
Aye.
Nobody in Glasgow says city. So there was that kind of stuff. You get the kind of stuff, but nobody understands how brilliant they are out there at what they do and how much they do in a short period of time. And the crew are amazing. The script writers are great. And the actors are fucking quality. People slagged it off at the beginning because there was a lot at the beginning. There were a lot of people talking like that.
Yes.
Doing that. I'm going to be understood.
Yes.
Acting.
Yeah, of course.
Once it settled in, and once Stephen Purden came in as Shell Suit Bob, and he was like, "All right, troops," it just went right. It's Glasgow now. It's Glasgow, and it's settled in. And they're doing it now. God, they're doing it now under such hellish conditions because they're having to stay 2 feet apart and have two. Because my mother in it just died, and they phoned me up in the summer and went, "Look, we can't have you at the funeral because we're only allowed 2 actors on set at one time." And I went, "Fine, don't worry about it. It's all right." But they are having to only have 2 people on set acting at one time, and they're having to do camera trickery.
Wow.
To get past it because of the regulations.
That's pretty insane how they're going to manage to do that.
They're doing it really, really well. I watched last week's episode, and after the initial kind of 2 or 3 minutes of going, this is a bit weird, I forgot. EastEnders are doing it really well as well, but I've seen Corrie and Emmerdale, and shite. There's like somebody standing at one side of Coronation Street shouting down to the other one, and it's like they're not even trying. But with EastEnders and River City, and they're the same. They're under the same production umbrella, so they've probably been swapping techniques.
Yeah.
But it just looks as if people are sitting right next to each other, and they're not. They've been filmed separately, and they're actually acting to a tennis ball on a stick.
No way.
Yeah, so they're
really?
acting to a tennis ball on a stick, and then they're shooting it again with the other actor on, acting to another tennis ball on a stick, and then they're merging the two.
That must be really difficult, because surely as an actor you want to be able to react to what the other actor's doing.
Do you know, the joke was, I phoned one of them last week and I went, do you know what, I bet the tennis ball's a better actor than some of the fuckers. That's a bit you can cut out.
No chance, I'd keep that in. So
the tennis ball's got its own dressing room.
Just someone in there slightly snipping the fuzz off it.
Tennis ball sat there.
It's like,
as if I'm doing this. I could have been at Wimbledon and I'm here.
I know, you've got chocolate hobnobs and take the high road. This is a disgrace.
So I think it's fair to say then you miss River City.
I do. God, yeah. I miss having a job.
Nothing to do with the production, right? Just
salary.
Aye, yeah.
You know what I mean? And have a, do you know? And I miss the fact that you were with a gang of folk every day, and the people that played my family, like Sally Howitt that played Scarlett, and wee Stephen that played Shell Suit Bob, and Molly that played Una that played Molly. They were like my family unit out there, and
yeah.
What a laugh, just having a laugh every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I do miss it. I miss it so much. I really, really do. But at the same time, it can stop you doing other stuff. So if I had been doing that, I wouldn't have been able to do Still Game last year.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is. And they've had me back a couple of times. Every time somebody dies, I'm back for the funeral. So one of my sisters got in an explosion, and they got me back for that. And so it's just, and they were going to, they'd said to me, look, we were wanting to bring you back for the funeral this time. I went, it's only ever funerals. I'm like,
bad omen.
Harbinger of doom.
Just coming back with your scythe.
I don't know, who's next?
Who's next?
So Tom, how does, production-wise, how does it differ from a show like River City to being in film? Because my favourite bit of film that you've ever been in is in Trainspotting 2. I love that scene, man. That is probably one of my favourite scenes in all of cinema. It is fantastic.
Look, I tell you, honestly, I had no idea what was going to happen with that, because I had auditioned. I'd got an audition to be the guy that stabs Begbie in his cell. And, how Begbie goes, I'll run into the night, but the guy stabs his liver by accident. He's raging. So I went for that part, and then they phoned back and went, look, there's another part that we think you're better for. It's a bouncer. So the original part would have been in that prison cell with Robert Carlyle, but the scene I got was with Ewan McGregor and Johnny Lee Miller in this big fucking, and I went, yes, you know what I mean? I mean, I looked at the script and it was 2 lines, right? And I went, that's only 2 lines, but then I thought, it's Trainspotting 2.
I know, man.
Yeah,
I know.
God, and I loved Trainspotting 1. So out I go. Filmed in Bells Hill at the Orb, pub called the Orb. We filmed upstairs. And they had to black out all the windows to make it look like night. And it was the hottest day of the year. It was in June, and it was sweltering. They had to hire in these industrial air conditioning units. It was 200 extras. And I don't know anything about that kind of thing. I don't know anything about the Catholic Protestant thing. Mm-hmm. It's never been a thing with me or my family. We've never St Mirren supporters. That's that. So I don't know what an Orange Lodge is. I don't know what, I don't know the whole history of that. I don't have an opinion on it, and it doesn't bother me, and I don't get involved, right? So West of Scotland, people got all shouty, but I'll just do my music, right? So got there, and it was that scene with that song. And here's a strange fact for you. You know that song that Ewan McGregor sings up there? That was written by the guys from Underworld that did Born Slippy.
No way.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
they had written that. So because Danny Boyle had said, look, going to write this song about King Billy. And so the people that wrote Born Slippy wrote that song.
That is incredible, man.
So it was two days at that, and then I did another day of reshoots a few months later, which was really bizarre because in between the first, what had happened was they filmed the whole scene with me and Ewan McGregor and Johnny Lee Miller at that doorway, and there was a staircase behind me going upstairs. And they realised that once they'd done all the exterior shots, that there was only a
single floor.
One. There wasn't a second floor.
No, it wasn't.
So they had to get me back in 5 months later to reshoot that scene. The front bit, the back bit was fine. They didn't need to shoot the back view, but they needed to reshoot the front scene. So they didn't have Johnny Lee Miller. He was in America doing the Sherlock Holmes thing that he does. They had Ewan McGregor, but they didn't bother him, so they got lookalikes. They got their stunt doubles who'd been in the film to stand there for me to speak to reshoot that. So when you see me, it's not Ewan McGregor and Johnny Lee Miller's back of your heads, you're seeing it's them. And in between, I had the gastric bypass. Right? So I had lost 6 stone in between filming the back, the scene from the back to the scene from the front. I had lost 6 stone. So I arrived on set and they were like, we need you to wear the same shirt. And I was like, oh, right. And it was like a fucking tent. So they managed to get a smaller size of the shirt. So if you freeze frame that scene from the back to the front, you can see my neck go. Because I had lost.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
It's really, really, you only notice it if you see it, right? And then I did another day, I had to redub it for America because we wouldn't understand the accent. So 4 days on it. But the best thing about the whole experience was Danny Boyle was really, really nice and really friendly. And he knew all about me when I arrived. You know, he knew everybody, and he'd bought my CD on Amazon. I made this CD about 9 or 10 years ago, and it's for grands. It was when I was in River City, you know, and it's kind of like
It's
music,
just called Tom Urie, isn't it?
It's just called Tom Urie, and it's all cover versions, and it's like
I listened to it today.
Aye, it's did you all right? Right, aye. A few folk bought it, right? So, and it was kind of like, I was milking River City, so I did cover versions on it rather, because I love writing my own stuff. And he'd bought that, and I was going, oh my God, don't listen to this one, and don't listen to that one, don't listen to that one. Skip that one, listen to Sweet Home Balmaha, it's a good one, and then listen to, you know. So he was just a lovely, lovely, sweet, amazing guy, full of stories, and was not shy about yipping it. Came and sat and had dinner with me and everything, and told me about because that had happened to me before. Because I love movies, and I loved Trainspotting, and I also got to work with John Landis, who directed Animal House, Blues Brothers, American Werewolf in London, Michael Jackson's Thriller. He's one of my favourite directors of all time. I got a part in one of his movies.
Wow, man!
And I made pals with him as well on set because I was such a geeky fanboy about his films. He came over and went, hi, how you doing? It's nice to meet you. I'm John Landis. And I went, I know you're John Landis because I love Animal House and I love the Blues Brothers. And he went, oh, buddy, yeah. And it was like 5 weeks into the shoot, and the rest of the crew were all like, and I was like this guy going, oh, John Landis, John Landis. So I ended up making pals with him on set. And then about 6 months later, he phoned me. He went, Tom, it's John Landis here. And I went, oh, hiya. And he went, I'm in Loch Ness, where I'm in Scotland with Deborah. We're in Loch Ness staying in a castle, and we pushed on the TV, and you're in some soap. You came on the TV, you're in some soap. And I went, it's called River City. He went, oh, man. Yeah, it's great. that was a film. You need to check that out. It was a film called Burke Hare.
Yeah, Simon Pegg's in it, isn't he?
Simon Pegg and Andy Serkis, and they're the two guys that I did the scene with, right? But what I didn't realise, I went down to Pinewood for the audition for that, and of course, I'm notoriously shite in auditions. But Pinewood Studios, which is this legendary, it wasn't Pinewood. Yeah. It's not Pinewood. It's the where did they do all the old films, the old cop comedies? Elstree, not Elstree. No, that's the other one. That's Holby City. What is the name of it? Oh man, there's a famous studios in London that was a real old movie studios. I can't. You'll need to Google it. I'll need to Google it. Anyway, got down there, and I didn't know John Landis was going to be in the audition, and he was a real hero of mine. It's like Spielberg for me. And I knew it was just a wee stupid part. And I went into the audition. He was sitting there, and I went, "Oh, aye." And he was like, "Right, what I want you to do, fella, you're gonna die in this movie, okay? So I want you to do the biggest, most grotesque, most over-the-top death that the movie world has ever seen." And I went, "In this office?" And he went, "Yeah." And I was a big guy at the time, right? So I went, "Okay." So I started going, and then I pulled a shelf over and books went everywhere, and then I collapsed and I tripped over him, and then I threw a chair, and then I just collapsed and started shaking about, and he went, "Okay, fella, you got the part." It's the only time I've ever got a part in the audition, right? And I went, "Great." So here's the script, right? And I went, "Great, I'll read that in the train on the way home," right? So I started reading the script on the train on the way home. Oh God, I wonder when my bit is, right? Get to my bit, I'm going, "Oh, brilliant. It's a scene with Simon Pegg and Andy Serkis." Although it wasn't Andy Serkis at the time, it was David Tennant.
Oh, really?
But he pulled out and Andy Serkis did it instead, right? So, and I read it and I went, "Oh, brilliant." And then my death scene. And then I turned the page and it went, cut to heart attack man lying naked on mortuary slab.
Heart attack man.
Right, because the character was called Heart Attack Man, right?
Yeah.
Lying. So I phoned my agent and I went, "This says that I have to be naked in this." And they went, "Oh, no, shit, do you want to not do it?" And I went, "It's John Landis." I went, "Fuck it." Yeah. Aye, all right. So it was in this, it was weeks after I'd filmed a bit with Andy Serkis and I'd spoke to John Landis. I went, "I don't want my bobby." In the cinema screen, he went, "Oh, don't worry, we'll cover that bit up." So I ended up having to lie completely naked on a mortuary slab in this old Victorian university, meant to be, with hundreds of extras all sitting round, and me lying with a little tiny kind of like towel over my middle region. And I was colossally fat at this time. I mean, this was like, a few folk had to help me up onto the thing, right? And then John went, "I want you to look even fatter than you actually are. So take a big, deep breath before I shout action and hold your breath." So if you watch that film, he said, "But don't worry about it, fella. It's a tiny little scene. It's over in seconds. It'll flash up on the screen. That's it." And I went, "Okay, I'll do it." So they had to... I've got a couple of tattoos. They had to paint them out and everything, right? So lying in this slab, right, then action, lying there dead. Cut, fine, fair enough, right? So I went, right. And I told all my pals, I went, "I'm naked in this film." And it's just a nightmare. It's a nightmare. But it will probably get cut out. And it will probably, you won't even know it's me, right? It ended up in the trailer. Right? And they showed the trailer in every ad break on the X Factor.
Oh, man.
So I'm sitting watching the X Factor on a Saturday night, and the trailer comes on, and it's me with a guy that was in the Full Monty, I can't remember his name, shaking my belly. And they'd superimposed this noise on it. So my phone started fucking like that. How much did you get paid for that? And I'm like, 10 bob. So if you ever want to see that, I'd warn you in advance.
What's Simon Pegg like?
He's a really, really nice guy, but he didn't speak at all. I don't know what was going on, but he didn't speak. But Andy Serkis was really chatty and really nice. Yeah. But he just didn't. He was probably concentrating, because you get that, you know. And I was only there for a couple of days, so I don't know what he's like. But Andy Serkis was brilliant, dead nice, lovely.
That's huge names, man. That must be incredible, man. Like Ewan McGregor. Like, I know, going back to Trainspotting, because one of my other friends was in Trainspotting too. He's the guy, Atta Jacob. He's the guy that Robert Carlyle sticks in nothing.
Right. Let me tell you, right. So when the premiere happened, we didn't get invited to the big posh premiere with all the the names. We get invited to the cast and crew premiere in Glasgow, which is fine, right? So the posh premiere was on the Sunday morning, and the cast and crew premiere was at night. So I know Atta and I know Simon Weir, so we got in contact and we were like, come on, the three of us will go together. Mm-hmm. So it was me, Atta, and Simon Weir sitting in the cinema, and we were all like, what did you do in this film? And we went, let's not tell each other. Let's just let it be a surprise. So the first thing that happened was Simon Weir was bollock naked in it with his bobby. So we're all howling at that. And then Atta gets hooked by Robert Carlyle. And then, of course, I'm in this amazing orange lodge scene that just... I mean, it's the thing that everybody talked about after the film, because it was... I
swear to God, man, it's my favourite bit. It's so good.
Mate, I can't believe my luck that I ended up in that. I mean, of all the things to be in, you know, of all the things to be in, and all the scenes to be in that film. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it just was, when I watched it, I just went, oh man, what a gift to be able to just pop up in something as brutally brilliant as that.
Yeah.
As legendary as that, you know, and just go, God, you know, in 50 years, folk are still going to be watching that.
Definitely.
That's amazing.
Because I love when Atta's a good pal of mine. I actually saw him.
He's a brilliant guy.
Yeah, he actually messaged me today on Instagram because I took photographs. He was doing. We were doing photographs for this for Old Salties in the West End, and Atta was called in as man enjoying burger. Do you know what I mean?
Man enjoying burger. That's the kind of part I get.
So, and I was photographed.
My IMDb is full of second tree from the left.
But Atta and I went to Miss Scotland together and all that, because he knows Martin Compston, and he kind of got the two of us in. And but Atta's a great guy. He's a great guy.
He is a great guy. He's a lovely guy.
Yeah, actually, we were talking, Chris and I were going to get him on.
Yeah, definitely.
You need to.
Aye, so that kind of takes us on to music, right? So, am I right in saying that you supported Tom Jones?
Yes. With Chris Judge.
Aye, right. Now, so you can tell I've done my research on you, Tom, right? We're no messing about here, right? So, what is Tom Jones like, man?
This is a terrible, terrible thing to say, right?
Amazing. I'm on it. Excellent.
Right.
Listen, I'm not going to say what you're expecting me to say, right?
All right, okay.
I went home before he came on.
It's not unusual.
Right, look, honestly, right. So I went. It was the Gospel Truth Choir, right? And I went on to do one song. So I went on and sang the 11 Years with them, you know. Mm-hmm. And everybody was buzzing about Tom Jones and staying and watch Tom Jones. We've got seats for it, and I was just like that. Way up the road. I wasn't bothered. And see if it had been somebody like Brian Wilson or Paul McCartney or something. I was like, I mean, he's great, he's brilliant, but I just wasn't interested. Mm-hmm. It just didn't float my boat. So I went and came home. I'm way up the road. So I went home. So that's a shite anecdote.
Yeah. Because I saw it, I was like, wow, man, that's incredible. Because there's also a thing with you and Shakin' Stevens, isn't there?
Right. But the best thing about that is, I told you I talk shite, right? I told you I talk a lot of shite, right? The Shakin' Stevens thing. Now, when I was a kid, I loved Shakin' Stevens, right? He was brilliant. It was just loved him. And when I made that album that you listened to today, the guy that owned the record label had written a song for Shakin' Stevens.
Right.
And he said, can you do the song that I wrote for Shakin' Stevens and put it in your album? And I went, aye. So it's the last song. I can't even remember what it's called. So I did this Shakin' Stevens song on the album. And so when the album was coming out, Shakin' Stevens was touring. So the guy that owned the record label went, I phoned Shaky. And I'm like, you phoned Shaky? I went, I phoned Shaky. And asked if you could support him at the ABC. And he said, aye. And I went,
go on, Shaky.
Shakin' Stevens. He went, and I went, so I'm going to get to support Shakin' Stevens. He went, just me and my own with my piano. Aye, do what you want. So I went, right. So my pal Angie, right, is an obsessive Shakin' Stevens fan, right? Just like since she was a wee girl, she is obsessed with Shakin' Stevens. Like just on her birthday, she gets Shakin' Stevens birthday cakes,
right, okay.
and she gets Shakin' Stevens wallpaper and all this kind of stuff, right? So I thought, oh God, I wonder if I could take Angie to meet Shakin' Stevens. So I phoned her and I went, what are you doing on the 29th? And she went, I don't know how. And I went, I'm doing a gig and I need somebody to come and be my PA, my personal assistant. And she went, get to fuck. A personal assistant for at a gig, and why are you asking me? And I went, well, when I tell you what gig it is, you might want to. And she went, well, what? And I went, Shakin' Stevens. And she went, oh my God. So it just became for the month. It just became. So we got to the ABC, and she was carrying. I think she was carrying my microphone or something, just so that she could get in. And we got up and we didn't have a dressing room or anything because it was just a ball bag. Do you know what I mean? And so we were kind of sitting in chairs out in the corridor, and Shaky's band arrived and they were rehearsing and we were both sitting and we were both 8. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were like, Shaky Stevens. And he arrived, right? And he kind of like stood in the corridor and we were both not looking at him. We were just like, Shakin' Stevens. And we kind of glanced up and he went like that. And we went, oh. So then the guy that owns the record company came in with Shakin' Stevens, his manager, and came over to introduce him and went, this is Tom and his PA, Angela. And I went, yeah, how you doing? And Angie went, all right. Well, we're both pretending to be cool, right?
Yeah, of course.
And the manager went, oh, do you want to come and meet Shaky in his dressing room? And we went, yeah. Aye, all right.
I suppose.
Like meeting Elvis, right? So we went into his dressing room and we get in and he was lovely, he was dead nice, shook our hands, said, oh, what songs are you doing, blah, blah, blah. And Angela was just standing there quite quiet and I went, look, Shaky.
Shaky. I can't go over Shaky.
Aye, he does get called that, right? And I went, look, Shaky. This is Angela, right? I've pretended that Angela's my PA, but actually she's a massive Shakin' Stevens fan and I've smuggled her in. Can you give her a cuddle? I went, of course I can. And he gave her a big cuddle, right? And then he was talking about, the journey home, and she started telling him about which motorway it should take him. and then I was just going, this is amazing. And we were too cool to ask for a photograph with him. We were like that. Cool. And he says, wait here a wee minute. And he disappeared. And he came back with these 2 giant big CD box sets of all his albums. And he signed them for both of us. It's one to Angela and one to me. And he gave her a big kiss and a cuddle.
Wow.
And then, of course, I went home.
Fucking hell.
Angela stayed and watched the gig.
Fucking hell.
I know. I just went, and I went home. It's terrible. I'm the person that goes home. I went, Angela went, what do you mean you're going home? I went, I'm just going home.
Can't be asked.
I like him, but I'm going home.
I've heard all the songs.
Cheers for the CD, Shaky. Catch you after, Biggin.
Thanks, mate. Taxi.
Cheers.
I saw the sound check. Who the fuck needs to stay for anyway?
It's just not anything like that. It's just that I'm not good at all that. I'm not good at I'm not good at that kind of stuff. You know, I'm not good at the kind of, oh, that was wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm not good at it. I'm shite at it.
So has there been any more instances like that where you've just pissed off home after supporting some like world famous singer?
Yes.
Right, okay, here we go.
The best one. This is the best one, right? Because I end up doing mental things, as you've probably gathered, right?
Yeah.
So I ended up singing opera at Proms in the Park on the BBC with a 100-piece orchestra, right? And it's just one of these situations where I'm standing there going, what am I doing? Because I'd lost a lot of weight, right? And I did this like thing on the Kay Adams show on Radio Scotland every week where it was a bucket list. And I had all these things that I wanted to do. Like I wanted to do a fashion shoot, and I wanted to fit in an aeroplane seat, and I wanted to go skiing and all. So doing this kind of feature on the Kay Adams show every week. And one of the things was I said I wanted to, because when I was at my biggest, I couldn't stand up.
Wow, man.
I could stand up, but I'd have to sit down again 6 seconds later, you know. Shite. It was shite. And so all my gigs were always behind a piano. So one of my bucket list was that I wanted to sing in front of an orchestra. So stand there and be a kind of in front of a real orchestra standing up. And I thought they were going to like get a school orchestra and let me go and sing. Phone Hermitage or something. And get me to go and sing with them. But live on the Kay Adams show, they said, we've actually got a surprise for you. You're going to be singing at BBC Proms in the Park with the BBC Scottish Symphony Orchestra. Oh. And I went, what am I singing? They said, well, you're going to be singing Nessun Dorma. And I went, Pavarotti's Nessun Dorma.
Oh,
and they went,
my God.
We've lined up 6 weeks of opera training for you.
Oh, cheers.
Thanks very much. So I went and did that. And it was terrifying because opera singing is completely different from normal singing. It's like a fitness workout. And it got to the day of me doing it, and I shat out of it, and I went, I'm going to pretend I'm not well. And I got on the stage for the sound check in the afternoon, and I went, this is when I'm going to pretend I'm not feeling well, so they've got time to reschedule it. I thought, I'll wait until halfway through and I'll say I've got a chest pain, because people shite themselves if you say you've got a chest pain. Yeah. They'll go, oh, right, insurance, whatever. So I was standing there ready to go, and the orchestra were all behind me. And the orchestra, this is terrible, I'm never going to work again. Honestly, I keep telling stories that are going to get me in trouble. The orchestra were all sitting behind me, and they all had little microphones on their instruments. Right? So I could hear them yipping. I could hear them chatting through the monitors in front of me. And I heard this voice going, I mean, who is he? Well, I believe he's in something called River City. Oh. Right? And I just went, fuck you. Fuck that. Fuck
you guys.
Right, I'm going to do it.
Aye.
Right, I'm going to do it. So I did it. And I had been too scared to take the night off my work because I was the DJ in Club Tropicana.
Okay.
And I just, I thought, I don't want to take the night off because I'll lose a week's money. So what happened was I was on stage singing Nessun Dorma in front of 6,000 people live on the telly with a tuxedo. Jason Manford was on after me. And 5 minutes after I finished singing, I was in a taxi on the way to Club Tropicana, and then I was in a Grease t-shirt playing 70s music while Proms in the Park was still happening. Didn't go to the after show party, or didn't make any of the contacts I should have made.
Wow.
I didn't do it. So yeah, that's my thing. I go home.
Joe, I was going to ask you there, did you notice a difference in your voice when you lost all the weight?
Yeah, because the breathing's completely different.
Yeah.
So when I was doing the opera stuff, I had what happens when you lose that much weight and you've been that heavy is that your heart and lungs have been working at almost 100% capacity when you were doing anything, when you were that size. So there's a big reserve now when I've lost the weight. So your heart and lungs are in really, really good shape. So a lot of people that lose a lot of weight end up running marathons. I'll never run a marathon because it doesn't interest me. But I ended up doing 3 kilt walks, which are 26 miles. So my lungs are in really, really good nick. So I've got I can do the big singing now. I was able to do the Nessun Dorma thing, but you can see it's on YouTube somewhere. See if you look for it and you watch me, you can see me taking a whitey halfway through it because I'm just like that. I shouldn't. What am I doing? What am I doing? Why am I singing opera? And I've never done it since. I'm like that. No, it's not. It's like me playing football. It's not my thing. But I was glad I did it.
That's amazing.
Mental thing to do. Mental thing to be doing.
That's incredible, man. So before we finish up, gentlemen, Tom, I want to find out what's next, man. You've blown us out the water, man. Like I've genuinely, that's like the stories are incredible, right? But you've still got a lot of life in you, my man. So what's next in the
Destitution?
That's signing off. Done.
Destitution. I have got. Do you know what? I have got no idea. My main thing I do now is club promoting and club DJing and work like that. And I work for really, really cool people that own Club Tropicana and they own Aura and Dundee, and they're just a great bunch to work for. So I've still been sort of involved with all that. So I've been doing when the clubs all had to shut down, we took Club Tropicana online. So every Friday and Saturday I now do an online club. So it's all 80s, 90s music every Friday and Saturday. And there's a radio station in Arbroath that let me hijack their airwaves. Oh wow! So I get to go through all the Alexas and stuff. So they allow me to take over their station on a Friday and Saturday night. So I've been doing that, and I've got a real bug for radio DJing. Not the kind of total bonkers radio station things you get. The Scottish DJ thing.
Yeah.
I'm a slightly swearier, kind of more crabbit DJ, but I'm like, I hate this song. It's shit.
No fucking requests, right?
But we opened a venue in Dundee, and I went up and did a lot of creative stuff for that. So that is over the past couple of years, I've kind of preferred doing that to the acting or the singing. I've really preferred the club work I've been doing. So once the clubs reopen again, whenever the fuck that's going to be the next decade, hopefully, I'm happy doing that, because see with the acting and stuff, you can't guarantee anything. Yeah. You don't know. Oh well, maybe I'll do a film next year because maybe nobody will ask you. Or we'd go back to River City. You need to wait till you're asked. For how come you not go back to River City? Just go back to River City, and I'll go.
You need to wait till somebody dies.
Until somebody gets bumped off, and then I'll. But you can't pick and choose unless you're a big name, unless you're a big success. But the likes of me, you need to wait for an opportunity to come along, like the Trainspotting thing, and that. I didn't apply for that. Yeah. There's a guy, oh man, I'm in trouble again. There's a guy who works in the local shop, and he said to me one day when I was in River City, he went, "Listen, mate, how long was it after you put your name down did you get into River City?" And I went, "What?" He went, "How long after you put your name down? He thought you put your name down if you wanted to be in something, and then you got." God. I was like, didn't I put my name down, mate? So you can't control it. So I ended up DJing and loving it and loving the people I work for. So I'm happy doing that and they're cool when we're going away and doing other stuff as well. So I've got nothing at the moment and nothing coming up, which is frightening. But everybody's in the same boat.
Oh, of course, that's what I said this in the podcast on Sunday. Actually, this whole COVID thing is the great equaliser.
Of course it is, because and every time I think about it, and every time I start feeling sorry for myself and start getting a bit self-obsessed about it, you just put on the news and you go, man, I'm lucky. I'm lucky. I've got I've got stuff to do, and I'm in the house, and I don't go out. I'm staying in here while that's going on out there. I'm not risking it. I'm not going to a restaurant or any of that shit. I'm just keeping out the road. I'm keeping back fit, but I've got no prospects in the immediate future for doing anything. And I mean, it is a worry, but I can't think about the future like that because I will freak out. I need to just go, well, what's happening today? I'm doing this podcast with these guys tonight. and then I'll go and I'll watch some Tom and Jerry and go to my bed. And I can't think beyond that. I've got to just go. That's all I have to do today.
Yeah.
And then when the world reopens back up, if it ever does, then I'll see what happens. I'll see what kind of world we emerge out into. Hopefully, all the fucking maniacs will have buggered off, but then your Trumps and your Borises will have all got to fuck, and normal people will be back. But who knows? Maybe it'll just get worse.
You never know.
I know. Maybe, but I would like to think that people will come out of this a bit more appreciative and a bit kinder and a bit. I know I am anyway. I'm gonna not go home. I'm gonna stay and watch Tom Jones next time. I spent too much time in this fucking house now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say no. You staying to watch Tom Jones? Yes, I am.
Yes, absolutely.
Shaky, I'm here. I'm here for you, Shaky.
I'm gonna stay for the whole thing, mate.
I promise.
No.
Oh. Right, gentlemen, well, I'm going to call it a night there. Tom, that was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on to talk to us. I really appreciate that, man. It was,
No bother.
It was so entertaining.
Genuinely
I told you I
incredible.
talk big load of mince.
Not at all, man. Not at all. So I'm just going to sign off just now, gentlemen. So thanks for listening, folks. Please hit those like and subscribe buttons.